What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Down Once More. I'm your host, Matt, and as you can see and hear, this week I am solo. The plan was going to be I was going to be reviewing Rock-a-Doodle with Brad, a classic animated movie from our childhood, but family, kids, Brad has a life. I have no life, so I am here to record, and we will be doing Rock-a-Doodle in the upcoming weeks, so don't worry there. What I'm going to talk about instead is In Pieces, the musical. If you've been listening to the pod for a while, you have heard about this musical quite a bit. Brad first introduced me to it, and then we reviewed the filmed concert that they did at Joe's Pub. And then now they just released the filmed version of their sold out show at the other place in London. All right, sorry to interrupt the pod. Matt here doing some editing and realized I said the other place. It is the other palace. And I also have to get in front of another correction. I somehow in my notes, I had the actress who plays Sam. I had it written down as Elisa Davidson, and it's Ailsa Davidson, Ailsa. So when I was looking at things and making my notes, I transposed the letters, don't know what was going on. That's what happens when you record the podcast at 11 o'clock at night. So back to the episode now. I did just want to make those corrections for anyone listening and be like, what is he talking about? He said it wrong. I know I said it wrong, and I think I say the other place multiple times in this. So this is my early disclaimer. Now let's get back to the episode. London. They had 4 sold out shows. I talked about it on here. I had hardcore FOMO, wish that I could have been there. And limited time they have where you can rent and watch the staged concert that they put on. So I'm going to be talking about that a little bit, as well as I thought it would be a good time. I was thinking back on, I've had my Broadway season tickets here and seeing the national tours for a few years now, and thought I would talk about the roles that have really stuck with me. And so I'll be talking about that a little bit at the end as well. But let's get into In Pieces. If you're not familiar with In Pieces, it is a musical that is in development by Joey Contreras. They did have an older version of it that was licensed and had been put on at one time, but they're constantly workshopping it and working to get it to Broadway. So thankfully, Joey's decided to let us kind of be involved and come along for the journey. They've released a highlights album, which has some amazing voices on it. George Salazar pops in there, Andrew Barth Feldman, Antonio Cipriano. Fantastic cast, and Antonio Cipriano has been one of the constants through this, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the London show. The story of it, I'm going to give it to you straight up from the bio that they have on the website with it, and that's that In Pieces, the musical, is a bold contemporary new musical featuring a pop-driven score that dives into echoes of love, loss, and self-discovery by weaving the romantic journeys of 6 characters across 3 chapters of life. As friends, family, and former lovers confront old wounds and unresolved feelings, will they learn to coexist with the joy and pain of the past? Now, the music, the lyrics, and the book are all written by Joey Contreras. This London run, they did a workshop weeks ahead of time, worked on furthering the development a little bit more, refining it. And then this is the first time that to the public, besides I think it was back in COVID times or something. I've heard tales, I have not seen it, of the older version of it that they did a staged production and did a filmed version that you could rent for a while, or maybe it was streamed way back when. I've not been able to find that. I have not gotten to see it. But the Joe's Pub performance was just a concert. The actors on stage singing the songs, with Joey Contreras giving a little bit of backstory of what was going on in the story between each song. This one, though, he actually has more, we're getting to see more of the story unfold. He still says it's just a taste, not the full thing. It runs about an hour and a half, this version. but you get more of the characters interacting, the dialogue, the story, the plot points, seeing some choreography and seeing it staged on a full-size stage. This is where they filmed the Heathers pro shot on it, and there's a fun connection there I will touch on in a little bit. That's actually a good transition. The cast for the Other Place sold out run. Peter is played by Antonio Cipriano. He's a young wannabe actor who's gone on to New York, and he is the brother of Charlie, played by Ryan Coppel in this stage version. Charlie is a sophomore in high school. He's very intelligent and starts tutoring one of the popular guys in school, Mr. Popularity. Me and Mr. Popularity, one of the early songs, one of my favorite songs, and that is Gray Carter, played by Alex James Hatton in this run. Now, we also see the story of River, played by Emily Louise Israel, another Broadway hopeful and star, having a little bit more success than Peter out there, and her friendship with Alex, played by Ramona Lewis Malley, who works at a coffee shop in New York, and one of the opening songs is Caffeinated, and that's when we're introduced to River and Alex and their relationship and kind of how they're viewing, love. River's going on different dates in this coffee shop. That's how her and Alex started connecting and becoming friends. Alex, the barista, observing everything, and how you see that story play out during Caffeinated is fantastic, and I love it. But the one main character that we haven't talked about is Sam. This is a slightly older woman that Peter meets when he's in New York doing food delivery service, and they start dating and have a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. Sam in this production is played by Elisa Davidson, who, when I was watching it, I'm like, there's something about how this actress is speaking, her vocal range. I know her. I know there's something about her voice that's familiar. And then it hit me. She played Veronica Sawyer in the Heathers Pro Shot that was filmed at the Other Place as well. So that was kind of cool. And once I realized that, it made sense. There's one of the new lines of dialogue where Sam and Peter are interacting with Charlie after Charlie and Gray go to New York and talking about Charlie being the smartest, one of the smartest guys in school, and Sam's character, Elisa, played by Elisa Davidson, who played Veronica Sawyer, is like, oh, I know what that's like. And everyone laughed. And when I first watched it, I'm like, why are they laughing? And then when I'm like, it's because she was Veronica, who was the smart one in Heathers. So, fun little tie-in there. And if you haven't listened to Heathers the musical, what are you doing? Fantastic. One of my favorite non-musical movie adaptations into a stage musical. I love it. I'm glad it's had kind of a revival. It's starting a tour later this year and coming to the U.S. in 2027. So, I'm hopeful that I will get to see that next year. Now, like we said, this follows the kind of love stories across 3 chapters of life of those 6 main characters. There are also numerous supporting characters played by the ensemble, which is Jacob Atkins and Sarah Freer in here. They play numerous roles throughout it as the story dictates and needs. So the first chapter, we're introduced to everyone. Charlie and Gray are in high school. Peter and Sam in New York, and River and Alex also in New York. One thing that was really cool about this new production and staging that I really enjoyed is little, almost like montages and snippets of songs and interactions of their life during the transition of time, and how they did about 1 year goes by, 2 years goes by, 3 years goes by, and you're seeing little bits of how these characters are developing and growing. That this is the first time I've been able to see that actually acted out on stage, and I loved these new transitions between the time periods and making that a little bit more clear. This felt like a full story. Now, I still wanted more because I love these characters and I love the music. And so I'm hoping this clocks in at a nice 2.5 hours eventually, but that is my selfish needs. The story is pretty well told and kind of tied up, if it makes sense. And Joey Contreras has said in interviews it's about the loves we've lost, and it was in that kind of description that I read there too. So not everyone's gonna get a happy ending, and that's one of the things I appreciate about it, is that it focuses more on the growth and the emotional journey of these characters, not how can we tie this up in a bow and give everyone their happily ever after. It shows these real relationships and real people, and so I find it a lot more relatable personally. But a couple things with this production, there are 4 new songs, and one of them, That's What I'm Good At, which is performed by Gray, is out on streaming. They released it as a single. The other 3 new songs are Small Talk at a Dinner Party, which is performed by Sam when her and Peter when she's meeting Charlie for the first time, when Charlie and Gray come to New York. And then Great Cool, which is performed by Gray and Charlie, which is later on in the third act, or the third time period. And this one I really enjoyed, and I liked the callback to Great Cool being what Charlie says to Gray at the end of Classroom Duet, which is another one of my favorite songs. Most of the songs in this show are my favorite songs. So I really liked some of the dialogue choices in these songs, tying everything together. There's fantastic reprises in here. I love the music and the story that Joey is putting out there. The other new one is Outgrowing, which is primarily sung by Peter and Alex, also in kind of that third stage of life and time period in the show. And I really enjoyed that one too. Antonio Cipriano's voice is just amazing. I'm in this place, like, people are starting to notice him a little bit more. He starred in the Amazon Prime series, has been a quick hit off campus. He's been in a number of things as well. He starred in Jagged Little Pill on Broadway. He's also in another Highlights concept album for another show that I hope gets off the ground, and that's In the Light, A Faustian Tale by Michael Mott, another very busy songwriter, and I love his voice. That was actually where I was first introduced to Antonio Cipriano. And so then when Brad told me this one and found out he was in it, I was sold. And Bloom was the first song I heard from this, which on the Highlights album, it's him and Stephanie Torrance plays Sam. And it is just a beautiful song. I think it's one of the main one that kind of propelled this into the stratosphere. It is catchy. It is so fun. Definitely check it out. If I was going to tell people to check out one song from this, it probably would be Bloom. That has the most appeal. But if you're looking for, the depth in this show is fantastic. Bloom is fun and upbeat, caffeinated, fun and upbeat. Ohio, insanely fun and upbeat. But then you have the super in-depth songs that are going to hit you in the feels, like the title track In Pieces that occurs at the end. And I really enjoy Fork in the Road at the end that closes it out. One of my absolute, I'm getting tired of saying it kind of, but it is one of my favorite songs. I love it. I love the callback to the beginning from You Never Know. It is a fantastic song, and the message and the story that it tells about these journeys we go through is amazing. So a couple other things that changed in this production that I thought was neat and kind of I actually really enjoyed. Another New York Love Story is actually now sung by Sam in this production. Previously, it was River, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Alex, but I'm 90% sure it was River before. And now it's performed by Sam about Peter. And so it really gives their relationship more depth. And I like that this song and Small Talk at a Dinner Party allows us to see more from Sam's perspective. Before, from the songs that we hear, we're getting more Peter's experience and you're sympathizing with him. a little bit more, especially when you hear Get Up and Go. But Get Up and Go being made into a duet, showing that both Sam and Peter are having these kind of thoughts and the conflict and just like, what are we doing here? Instead of it just being Peter. And then getting to see the struggles that Sam is dealing with too and her side of everything. I really enjoyed getting to see that side of Sam in this production. And I like how her character is getting fleshed out a little bit more as it goes. Now, that could have been a thing that existed before. Like I said, I have only seen the Joe's Pub concert and listened to the highlights album. But that being sung by Sam now, I really enjoyed. And I just, all of the new songs worked for me. That's what I'm good at. I think the first time I listened to it, I'm like, man, this is kind of, I wasn't sure. I'm like, it's repeating that's what I'm good at. I'm good at. We're hearing the words I'm good at a lot, but seeing it in the context of the show and then listening to it more and listening to the other lyrics around it, I think it might be my favorite out of the new songs, followed by I really love Small Talk at a Dinner Party. I'm not sure if that works as well as like a single that you listen to on an album. In the context of the show, though, it is amazing. And that's the one that's been stuck in my head that I've been going to most out of the new songs. Now, I have watched this concert. I have access to it for 2 weeks. I have watched it 4 times so far, and I still have a week to go. So I think it's worth it. I can't say enough good things about this production. It was directed by Martha Gielan, who did a fantastic job as well. As always, I really appreciate Joey Contreras allowing us to kind of come along for this journey and the development. I can't wait to see where this show is going. I think it's just keeping building up the steam and momentum after the Joe's Pub one, getting that run at the other place, and keeping on adding shows. Originally, it was only going to have, I believe, 2, maybe 3 shows. Got up to 4, sold out every single show. People traveled from all over the country. If my life wasn't a shit show right now, I would have tried to travel and gone to it because I love the show. I can't wait to see more of this. And we have talked, Brad and I, when it does make it on Broadway, our plan is to head there and see this. I haven't been to Broadway or New York City at all yet before. So, Joey Contreras, it's up to you if I get to go to New York. So, all right. When I was watching the concert and just appreciating Antonio Cipriano in this role, I'm going to go back. One more note that I will say about it. I was completely blown away by Ryan Koppel, or Ryan Koppel. I apologize. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but his performance as Charlie, elevated this character to me. Now, everyone that's played Charlie before, I've really enjoyed their voices and they've done great. But how he would emote on stage, the different choices he would make to kind of add the emotion and the feeling and the energy to his songs were amazing. I absolutely loved it. He was the standout to me in this. He really was. And that's for a show with Antonio Cipriano, which Antonio Cipriano is right behind Jeremy Jordan for me. So that's saying something. Shout out Ryan. Can't wait to see more of what he does. I am planning on doing a deep dive and seeing what other things can I see or hear him in. Okay. Now the transition. When I was watching this and just listening to Antonio Cipriano sing his songs, I was thinking, he's one of those artists where after In the Light and this, that when he's on something, I make it a point to listen to that. Now, there was the A Week Away show, kind of Christian camp show that I've talked about on here before. I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole show. Not for me, not the target demographic. However, Amazing Grace, How Silent the Sound is a fucking amazing, fantastic song. Antonio Cipriano plays this character who is just struggling and feeling like God doesn't listen to him. What's the point? does God exist, doubting everything, saying, I tried, prayed, all I'm getting met with is silence. What is the point? And the raw emotion and kind of heartbreak and almost anger, but never like an aggressive anger that he can express in this song is fantastic. So if Antonio Cipriano's in it, I'm checking it out. Other performers and artists that I'm like that with is Jeremy Jordan, obviously. I think the first thing I was actually introduced to Jeremy Jordan in was Supergirl, weirdly enough. And then hearing him in the last 5 years, I think was the first thing I actually heard him sing in, besides the musical episode of The Flash. He was in that it was a crossover. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. But I fell in love with his voice and everything that he does. The miscast theater where he did She Used to Be Mine from Waitress is amazing. Different Disney medleys I've heard him sing, amazing. Every role he's been in, I love his Gatsby and The Great Gatsby and My Green Light. Past is catching up to me. So good. Floyd Collins, just something a little bit different, throwing some yodeling in there. Great. Bonnie and Clyde is one that I haven't listened to the full thing yet. He's not featured on a new musical recording, Deathless, the musical. He is all over the place, and I love hearing him in so many different projects, especially like Has Been Hotel as Lucifer, just something very different for his voice. Now he's playing Bobby Darin in Just in Time on Broadway, and so Jeremy Jordan's one of those for me. Another one is Aaron Fiat. I love his performance. I was first introduced to him in the show Graceland on USA. Didn't know he could sing. Then I saw him in Les Mis, and then in Schmigadoon, and then Next to Normal, Moulin Rouge, and now Chess, the cast album. And he's been in so many other things. I love his voice, is powerful. Pity the Child from the new Chess cast recording album is amazing. If you haven't listened to it, go do that. It's fantastic. Another artist that's like that for me is Jack Wolf now. It's a relatively new one just because of how strong of a performer he was as Gabe in Next to Normal on the West End, which you can now get that on digital platforms for $9.99. So you don't need to have Broadway HD anymore. You can buy the full uncensored version on Amazon, Fandango at Home, Apple, all that fun stuff. So, fun fact. And then how amazing Jack Wolf was as Orpheus in Hadestown. And I'm so glad that he put out acoustic performances of all three epics on his YouTube. It is just, the epic 3 is my favorite one from that show, and his voice and his emotion as Orpheus is just amazing. He is born to play that role. Sad he's no longer in it, but loved it. Another one that is relatively newer, must listen for me is Joshua Henry. I first heard him in Tick, Tick, Boom, the movie, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, with Andrew Garfield playing Jonathan Larson. He plays one of the other actors on stage alongside Vanessa Hudgens. And they play like the 3-person show with Jonathan and then those two characters. I don't remember if they're even named, but he was so good in that. And then hearing him in Ragtime, hearing him in Into the Woods revival, so good. His agony with Gavin Creel is amazing, but his performance in Ragtime and on the cast album, it takes him over the top for me. So you need to listen to that cast album. Wheels of a Dream, so good and powerful and moving. So check that out. Other ones I really enjoy are Jonathan Groff and George Salazar. They're not as hard of a must listen to for me, but I have enjoyed everything that I've seen or heard with them in it. Other ones around the cusp, Casey Levy, her performance as Diana in Next to Normal, and then her performance as Elsa in Frozen on Broadway, the cast album for there, and hearing her perform I Can't Lose You and Monster, so good. And like those are great additions to the Frozen. If you've only seen the Frozen movie, you need to either go watch the Pro Shot on Disney Plus. That one features Samantha Barks as Elsa though, and listen to Monster and I Can't Lose You. Both amazing songs with primarily featuring Elsa. I Can't Lose You also has Anna in it. So Casey Levy's up there. She's fantastic. I also really enjoy Carrie Hope Fletcher. I thought she was fantastic as Veronica in Heathers on the West End in that cast album. I really enjoyed her in Bad Cinderella, or it was Cinderella at the time when it was on the West End. And there's all sorts of issues about how that ended and that show. It had such a short run when they retooled it to be Bad Cinderella and brought it to Broadway. But if you listen to the Cinderella cast album, Carrie Hope Fletcher is amazing. And she is also playing the main role in Waitress, Jenna. Right? Jenna? I haven't watched Waitress in a while, but the role that Sarah Bareilles wrote for, starred in as the Pro Shot, that Jesse Mueller played on the cast album, and Carrie Hope Fletcher is killing it and going to kill it in that role. I don't think they've actually started performances, but those kind of round out the people that I'm most excited to see when they wind up on a cast album. But Jeremy Jordan, Aaron Fia, Antonio Cipriano, Jack Wolf, and Joshua Henry are ones that I will seek them out. Oh, Jordan Fisher is another one. I love Jordan Fisher's voice, and his rendition of Orpheus was fantastic. He did great in Moulin Rouge too. He was a solid Dear Evan Hansen, just Evan Hansen in Dear Evan Hansen. So thought that was fun. So there's my list of Broadway stars or up and coming stars that I am excited to see when I see their name on a cast album. Now, talking a little bit about live performances, seeing something in the visual of nature of everything can add a whole other layer to the performance. One of the things Sage and I talked about that a little bit when we reviewed Suffs. That was one that the cast album wasn't really hitting for me, but seeing it live, it was one of the most powerful musicals that I have ever seen, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Afterwards, Sage messaged me and said, I get where your issue was. I tried listening to the cast album after we saw it live and I loved it, and it's just not doing it for me. Not because the talent isn't there, but because there is so much emotion packed into that musical and those performances that just listening to it, you're missing a whole big chunk of what makes that musical so amazing. And so I'm not fully coming around to Brad's status of I won't listen to it until I can see it live, or how the kind of creator intended, so like a Pro Shot as well, but I'm getting closer. The only reason I'm not is because I am impatient and don't have the best impulse control. And so if something's there, I'm going to want to listen to it and I'm not going to want to wait. So, but I will say I am getting closer and closer to getting to that point. Even though I just spent the last 5-10 minutes talking about how excited I get for cast albums and listening to these people. Oh, another random gripe I have right now is Out of Eden, musical, Stephen Sondheim. I don't know much about it, but I was going through YouTube and Lost in the Wilderness came across my feed, my algorithm, listened to it, loved it, went to go add it to a playlist. It was one of 2 songs available from Out of Eden on Apple Music. Added it to my playlist. Now it says it's not available in my area. What gives? I do think they're working on a new cast album and a production, I want to say in Chicago, maybe. And so maybe that's why, but I don't know. I'm mad because I got hooked on this song and I have no way to put it on my playlist. So sad day. Let's get into performances that have stuck with me that I have seen on national tours. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and it is going to have some recency bias because it's one that I can't stop thinking about the performances and their names. So, some of the older ones, that says a lot for them. And let's start out with an older one, and one that was like the first review that kind of took off on the podcast. And that was Nicholas Hambrook in Shrek the Musical. This was kind of the not revival, but they retooled it a little bit, had a non-equity tour. I saw it at the second stop, I believe, on the tour. And afterwards, based on feedback, they revamped like kind of costuming and things like that to kind of up the production value a little bit. When I saw it, Nicholas Hambrook, his black hair and Shrek ogre headband was all he was working with. He didn't have a cap. His face was painted green, of course, but he didn't have a full ogre head cap. It was just his head with a headband. And I didn't even mind because his performance as Shrek was amazing, especially in Who I'd Be. It was the first time I had listened to this music, and hearing that song close out the first act, I could not believe I was watching a musical based on Shrek, because this song had so much emotion and heart, and like it almost made me cry. And his performance was so good, and what kind of opened that door for me that it has stuck with me for years. Like Who I'd Be was the most listened to song on my Apple Music replay that following year, and then it's made an appearance every year since. So shout out Nicholas Hambrook. I'm going to go with another Nicholas next, and that is Nicholas Cologne, who played Hades in Hadestown that I just reviewed this past February. His Hades elevated it to another level for me. Patrick Page is a legend, and he is great on the Broadway cast album of Hadestown. But Nicholas Cologne brings a sultry, smooth kind of quality to the role of Hades. Patrick Page is a lot kind of more gruff, almost raspy, and kind of speak singing it. And that is the way that he portrays that character. And Nicholas Cologne is a lot more, I don't know. It just, I feel like how, like, this is going to sound bad. How Satan is described in things is he is someone who is a smooth talker, and you kind of know that there's something off and he's evil, but he can charm you. He can, reel you in and kind of cause you to put down your defenses. And I really feel that with Nicholas Cologne's Hades. In Hey Little Songbird, when he's going to Eurydice and basically getting her to make the deal with him, it was so good. And Nicholas Cologne on his Instagram, he has a clip of that. Highly recommend you check out his performance in it. It is fantastic. It has stuck with me, and it's gonna stick with me for a long time. Another one on the Hadestown train, goes with some recency, was Hawa Kamara as Eurydice. They did an absolutely amazing job in this role. A little bit different interpretation than Eva Noblezada on the Broadway cast album, but the energy, the heartbreak, the emotion they brought. And I saw them on, I think it was their second or third performance as Eurydice on the cast, replacing Megan Colton, who people absolutely loved in the role. So they came in and had big shoes to fill, but absolutely rose to the challenge and absolutely elevated that role to me, because Orpheus is the driving factor, but what is he chasing? What is he driven by? And that's Eurydice. So I guess actually Eurydice would kind of be the driving factor. Regardless, Hawa Kamara, performance that's gonna stick with me. Absolutely loved their portrayal and interpretation of Eurydice. Another one that stuck with me was Justin Collette as Beetlejuice. And I said it at the time in my review, and it still holds true. This was one of the best live performances I have ever seen. The energy that Justin brought to this role, breaking the fourth wall, doing the kind of gruff, scratchy Beetlejuice voice, that was a bad interpretation by me. And then seeing Justin was on Broadway when they did run there that got kind of pushed out a little bit further and extended. Seeing Justin on Broadway with that, I just absolutely loved it. His energy, his voice, and Say My Name, and all the songs were so good. It was that man had to burn hundreds and hundreds of calories during that performance. He was bringing so much energy to that role. One of my favorite performances I have ever seen live. I got two more here for you, and the next one's going to be Kate Heyman as Elsa in Frozen. Elsa is a difficult role. Elsa has been played by some absolute powerhouses, being originated by Idina Menzel and then played by Casey Levy on Broadway, Samantha Barks on the West End. But Kate Heyman's voice in Monster especially was so good and made me fall in love with that song. So shout out Kate Heyman for that. And then finally, last but not least, is Michael Fabish as Evan Hansen in Dear Evan Hansen. I said it at the time, but Dear Evan Hansen, one of my favorite musicals. Just the emotional, just gut punch that musical is. And Ben Platt originating that role was so amazing with kind of the awkward, nervous energy and anxiety and stress and depression, all those things you have to roll into this performance and portray. And you have to make the audience believe you and kind of sympathize with you, even though you're doing some bad stuff, Evan. And so I wasn't sure if anyone would be able to top Ben Platt. And obviously, movie directors thought that as well. And I mean, it could be because his dad was one of the producers, but that's neither here nor there. But Ben Platt in the movie, the voice was amazing. He was distracting to me in that movie, which is my own fault that I have to deal with and get over it because he sounded absolutely amazing. But Michael Fabish rivaled Ben Platt for me. He encapsulated Evan so perfectly, and just all of those points that I said before, the anxiety, the stress, the kind of quirkiness and lovableness and innocence that his character has as well. Kind of doing some shitty things. Originally felt like he was pushed into a corner and then embracing how it was kind of advantageous for him. So a little bit of a villain, but still just someone you can sympathize with and is dealing with some heavy shit and some deep, dark feelings. And I loved his performance in this role and couldn't get enough of it. I've said before, I said after the Hadestown one, I wish it was a thing and feasibly possible and magic existed that if you went to see a live show, you got a recording of that cast at that performance so you could relive it forever. Because there's so many of these roles that I'm seeing live for the first time. And so when I think of that role, it is that performance that I saw. And so I want to be able to remember that many years down the road. But over the years, these are the ones that have stuck with me that I feel like I can go back there already and I can hear them and I can see them in these roles. And that is amazing. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. There's been lots of other performances that have been great and that I'm probably just forgetting and aren't coming to my head right now. That's 100% the fact because everyone I've seen, I've never been disappointed with. They've been fantastic. But those are the ones that have stuck with me and burrowed their way into my brain. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Next week will be the preview of what's coming to streaming in theaters in June. So make sure to tune in for that. I'm not sure if the Rockadoodle episode will come the next week or the week after that. But You'll just have to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when it is live. Also, head on over to our Instagram at Down Once More Pod. Follow there. I usually drop some hints or clues, and not really clues. I'm not making you figure things out. I either straight up tell you what the upcoming episode is, or I don't. And then also on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, I'm doing Matt's Coffee Corner every Sunday. It drops usually between 6 and 10 a.m. Depends on how my morning's going and when I get everything put together. But I'm making my morning coffee. I'm either telling stories, giving a preview of what's coming on the podcast, random things. You never know what you're going to get because a lot of times I think of it in the moment. So subscribe to those platforms. Check that out. I've done some fun things. I've done AeroPress. I've done espresso, Chemex, some different brewing methods, talking a little bit about that. I am by no means a coffee expert. I talked about that on episode 4 of Matt's Coffee Corner, but I enjoy it. I'm a coffee enjoyer, like I am a musical enjoyer. I am by no means an expert, but it's one of my passions. It's what drives me, and so I'm sharing that with you all. So make sure follow, subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. Love hearing from you guys. Give us suggestions of what you want to see and hear on the podcast next, or what guests you haven't heard from in a while that you want to come back on. So Brad will be on for Rockadoodle. We'll see. I'll probably be doing a draft with Sage. We talked about doing something like that. And then I'm thinking about getting Amy back on for a more classical musical review. So have a great week, everyone. Hope you had a great Memorial Day. Everyone was safe. Thank y'all. Love y'all. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.